Won its first All-Ireland senior football title, and over a century later, Darren O'Sullivan captained the kingdom to its 36th title. Now, Kerry radio broadcaster Weeshie Fogarty has documented the triumphs and near misses of Kerry's journey, Kerry's numerous journeys to Croke Park, not just one.
Joining us to discuss the passion, the raw emotion and the enormous part that Sam has played in the lives of the people connected to the various Kerry teams is Weeshie Fogarty and the youngest winning captain, Darren O'Sullivan. But first, let's take a look at what the oldest living captain, Gus Cremins, had to say in the documentary.
He didn't want me on the team, and I make out that only for Joe Barrett we wouldn't have won that All-Ireland, because Joe Barrett insisted that I'd be on the team. He made a show because I wasn't on it. And at least 6 times he had me shoved into the field before I was eventually put on.
Yes, yeah.
And I got the winning point.
Excitement runs high as the crowd surges on the field.
You didn't go up to receive the cup with Paddy Kennedy.
I was taking shoulder higher around the field.
Right.
And I didn't see the cup being presented at all.
Right. Were you disappointed, Gus, after not receiving the cup?
I came home before the team.
Good morning, gentlemen. Weeshie, nice to see you again, and Darren, nice to meet you for the first time. Mr. Fogarty, a labour of love, I think it's safe to say, and one that's probably taking you, what, 4 years to put together?
Well, the guts of 3 years, Mark, I can tell you, with Christy Reardon, who's the producer and the editor of the whole thing of CR Videos, Carsavine. We set out on it about 3 years ago to do it, and it took longer than what we expected, naturally enough, because as we progressed and we started interviewing all the captains, it developed into history of Kerry football, really. And the further we went and the more stories we uncovered, it was absolutely fascinating. And as you said, it took about the guts of 3 years, and CR Videos and Carsavine did a tremendous job with it, and we believe that it's one of the best products of its kind that has come out about the GA. It's a 4-hour DVD.
But just looking at Gus there, you could see, like, it was 1946, but his face is completely alive and animated, and the excitement he still feels now recounting that day.
That's right, Sinead. Actually, that was a very sad part of the whole thing, because he'd be 90 years old now in January, and he still regrets the way that he was dropped for the replay in 1946. And there was a lovely touch at the lunch in Killarney lately when Darren, who's the youngest Kerry captain ever, met the oldest captain, who'd be Gus, but he's not the oldest winning captain. The oldest winning captain then is Jazz Murphy. Darren also met him. So there was lovely touches in the whole thing being brought together. So we believe ourselves that the documentary, as I said, is a 4 hours. It has documented really Kerry football in itself.
I mean, in terms of our domestic sport, which would be Gaelic football and hurling, like there's 3 counties that stand head and shoulders above everybody else because they just won more than anybody else. Kerry, obviously, in the football, and there's Cork and Kilkenny in hurling. And when you try to explain to somebody who isn't from this country or doesn't understand these games what it means to people, it's almost impossible. It's in the bones of us, Darren. I mean, you were just saying to me there that if a fella doesn't like football in Kerry, there's something wrong with him. And not just a fella, right? If anybody in Kerry doesn't like football, there's actually something wrong with them. I mean, it's that fundamental and that basic a part of us.
Oh, it is. To something like down in Kerry, you grow up watching football from the first moment you can kick a ball, you're playing, like, and you're out watching it, so you're growing up watching these players winning, so it becomes part of you and it becomes part of everything. But you know what, you've grown up watching soccer, I've grown up watching soccer and loads of sports, right, but they don't mean the same to us as these. So, I mean, it's an impossible question to ask you, but can you put your finger on what it is about football? I mean, if you didn't have football in your life, what would be missing? Everything, I suppose. Sure, I don't know myself now the last few months now without football, like, so I suppose it's just because these are normal people, they're people in your own community, people that you can actually talk to, go up.
Do you think you wouldn't be complete as a person without it? Do you think that it is that fundamental to your nature and the character and the man you become?
Oh, it is, of course, sure. I've grown up with it, like, you know, went in with Kerry at a young age, 18, like, and kind of grew up, really matured with most of the lads there, like, so...
So to win it then, Darren, was that something you've been dreaming of since you were wee high? Like, was it really that day when you were stood up there, you took sound, was that the day that you were like, this is it, this is the day I want to remember forever, for all eternity?
Yeah, it was. It was obviously great, like, but being honest, it's not something you dream of, because being from a small club like Glenbeigh, you know, you don't actually, you'd be dreaming of playing for him, but getting the opportunity to captain him, it wasn't something that I actually expected to happen. So obviously it was something special, but at 22 years of age, I didn't want it to be the pinnacle, like, so hopefully there'll be other days ahead.
This is the first of many.
Well,
you wouldn't be the first Kerry man to say that, and more importantly, you wouldn't be the first Kerry man to actually do it.
I was just wondering what it was like meeting, like Gus, and meeting the older guys. I mean, is it like a universal language as soon as you start talking to them about the game? Is it the game the same as the game they played?
I think there's a few changes, but the basics are still there, the same will to win, I suppose, still there.
Passion for it.
Yeah, like the first thing Gus said to me, it wasn't hello, it was, he wanted to see me playing wing back next year, which I thought was fairly funny, like, since I've never played back there, but he made a couple of good points about it, but it's just interesting, like, you know, watching that and just seeing how much it means to him, like it was so long ago now, but we've gone through the exact same emotions and same feelings, so it's very interesting to watch that.
There is, I mean, all human life is there in that game, Weeshie, isn't it?
It is indeed, yeah, and it's all portrayed in the DVD, Mark, because from the very first Captain 1903, we shot about 100 hours of film, and we did about over 200 interviews. So Christy Reardon had a lot of editing to do in it with his son, Tony, and there was a lot of work within it. That was the biggest part of it. So the beauty of it, every captain we visited, every living captain, actually enough, we visited, we did long and lengthy interviews with him. So there's a great archive there now, and then he had to edit all that. And then for the captains that were dead from 1903 up, we interviewed the closest relative of all those. Two of the captains are buried in America, and one of them, Phil Sullivan, who captained Kerry in 1924, had a very sad life because he immigrated, married a girl who played the piano at the reception over there. All that comes out in the DVD, and the marriage broke up, and he died desolate, and he was buried in a pauper's grave, and eventually his friends came together and put up a new headstone for him. And Gege Connor, who was another great captain, he was also buried in America. So all that is contained in the DVD, and really there's stuff in it. It's not just for Kerry people. It's for GA people in general, because as I said, Mark, we believe that is probably one of the best DVDs that actually...
Well, you would say that, of course, Weeshie would.
Yeah.
I mean, you think you would know everything there is to know about the game by now, but did you discover anything yourself about the game or about the people who play it that you hadn't realised before doing this?
Well, what I discovered, Sinead, and what clarified something for me was about the fierce underlying passion and love that was for Kerry football everywhere. And we set out to do a personal portrait of every single captain, and we sat down with Darren behind, and he's overlooking Glenbeigh Beach and Glenbeigh, and we spoke to him, and his homecoming is in it. So you have all the Kerry captains and the homecoming, and what I discovered is the tremendous love from the oldest person alive right up to the youngest, that fierce drive and determination, and each and every one of them welcomed us into their homes, and it was the huge love for Kerry. And you see Gus there.
I know, his face is great.
1946, he's still very hurt about the way he was dropped.
But you know what, Weeshie, the wonderful thing is about the GAA, and it's what keeps it alive and what will keep it alive, is that if you're a young fella in Kerry and or Cork or Kilkenny, and you've got a talent for hurling or football, you know there's a good possibility that you may end up in Croke Park saying, Tá áthas mór or among Corrinshaw Aglacha. But if you're a young fella with talent or girl in Carlow or Leitrim or Longford or somewhere like that, you know the chances are very slim that you'll ever get there, but you'll still keep going. And that is fundamentally the spirit and the passion that will keep the GAA alive, not just in Kerry, but all over the country.
That's what Darren said, that accessibility, that it's anyone can, and you know the people around you and you see them. They're not removed from you. They're not like Premiership footballers.
You would think that everybody in Kerry will buy this for Christmas and nobody else outside the county will, but I suspect it'll be a big seller, and it's a wonderful piece of history and archive and kept there. And by the way, while we're at it, congratulations on your PPOI award.
Thank you very much.
It's an award-winning radio broadcaster. Well, Darren, I want to wish you success, but it will be at Cork's expense, so I hope your life goes well. Maybe not the football. Weeshie, God bless you. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much,
We'll take a break.
guys.
See you back here in a few minutes' time.